Welcome back to Fluent English, the podcast. I'm Giorgia. Think in English.
And I'm William R. Today's episode is really exciting.
Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're tackling something I bet many of you, our dedicated learners, have run into. That really frustrating feeling, right, of being stuck in translation when you're trying to speak English.
Oh, yeah.
You know that moment your brain kind of grabs your native language first, and then it's trying to convert it right there on the spot? And it just causes hesitation, those awkward pauses, and really slows you down. It's super common, I think, for anyone learning a language. Makes conversations feel like, I don't know, hard work instead of natural.
It's a huge hurdle, yeah, a really common one. And what's fascinating, looking at the sources we dug into today, is they offer this really practical, almost surprising solution.
Okay.
It's a structured 7-day challenge. The idea is it's designed to literally, reprogram your brain to think directly in English. We're not really talking grammar drills here or memorizing lists.
Right.
It's more fundamental. It's about changing the pathways your brain uses for language right at the basic level.
Exactly. So yeah, forget the textbooks, forget the flashcards just for a minute.
Yeah.
This deep dive, it's all about these daily mental habits. Small things, but they could be really powerful. Actions that promise to sort of transform how your brain processes English, bypassing that clunky translation step altogether. So our mission today is to unpack this really innovative approach, look at the cognitive science behind it, maybe, and equip you with the insights, the confidence, perhaps, to actually make a significant shift, a real tangible shift in your English fluency. And they're saying potentially in just 1 week.
Just 7 days to kickstart that change.
Yeah. So, okay, let's unpack this. Let's really dive into how you can maybe make English your brain's default language. Okay, so many of us, and I've definitely been there myself sometimes, we get caught in this loop, right? It feels almost impossible to escape. You want to say something in English.
Yeah.
But your inner monologue, the way you're actually thinking, is happening in your native language first. It's kind of like, imagine you're trying to drive in a totally unfamiliar city, right? And every single street sign, every direction you need, you have to pull out this separate map, but the map's in a different language.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, so you have to translate the map in your head, then figure out where to go next. You're not just driving, you're constantly doing these complex mental calculations for every turn, every light.
Constantly switching back and forth.
Exactly. And this constant kind of subconscious translation, it just fundamentally slows you down.
Yeah.
That's where those hesitations come from, right? Those awkward pauses, that feeling that your words just aren't flowing.
Right.
It just drains your mental energy too.
Yeah.
Makes talking feel like a chore, not, a normal exchange.
Precisely. And that constant translation, it creates what we call a significant cognitive overhead. It's a real burden on your processing power.
Cognitive overhead. Yeah, I like that.
Think with your brain's processing power, like a computer's RAM, When you're constantly translating, a huge chunk of that RAM, that mental energy, is being eaten up by this extra unnecessary step.
Right.
Instead of just directly grabbing the English word or structure you need, your brain's forced to go through this middleman, this translation layer. And that just burns up valuable mental resources. It leaves less brain power for the actual communication part, for understanding nuance, for showing emotion, or even just keeping up with what the other person's saying in real time.
Yeah, you're too busy translating to actually listen properly sometimes.
Exactly. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, this inefficiency, it's what stops that seamless, natural flow, the kind of flow that really defines, genuine fluency.
So it's not necessarily about not knowing enough words.
Not always, no. It's often less about a lack of vocabulary or not knowing the grammar rules, and much more about the pathway your brain is taking. It's just an inefficient route to get the language out.
Huh.
I mean, think about how quickly a native speaker responds to something.
Yeah, it's instant.
Right. There's no visible delay, no obvious mental translation happening. Their brain is just directly accessing and generating the language. Thought and expression are almost simultaneous.
Right.
That immediate, unmediated connection, that's the ideal state we're talking about here. Getting to a point where the English is just there, ready to use without that internal detour.
Okay, so if this translation trap is the real problem, the barrier, then what's the solution that these sources are pointing to?
Well, it sounds incredibly simple, but it's profound and often overlooked. thinking directly in English.
Think in English.
Yeah. It means your brain completely bypasses that translation step. It just
Right.
speaks or thinks and then speaks. And that, according to these sources, is what fluency truly is.
Interesting. So fluency isn't just about speaking super fast or having a massive vocabulary.
Yeah, necessarily no. I mean, those things help, of course, but the core of fluency, as defined here, is that direct link, that unmediated connection between your thought and how you express it in English.
Where the English words just kind of appear
Yeah.
without routing through your native language first.
Exactly. Imagine being back in that city driving, but now, magically, you just understand all the signs intuitively.
All right.
You just react directly to the traffic, the turns, without stopping to decode or convert anything. It's like liberating your mental energy.
That sounds amazing, actually.
Yeah.
Less exhausting.
It is. And what the sources really hammer home here is this shift to direct thought. Fluency isn't just about the speed, like you said, which is what most people assume. It's more about the spontaneity, the naturalness, the effortless ease that comes from processing your thoughts directly in English.
Right.
And this isn't something that just happens by accident after years of study. Our sources are really clear. It's a skill. It requires deliberate training.
Training your brain.
Yes, a conscious, consistent effort to actually rewire those deep-seated mental habits. We're literally talking about building new neural pathways, making English the default language for your internal chatter, and then naturally for how you speak.
Wow. Okay, that's a pretty bold claim that fluency is about this direct connection, not just speed or vocabulary. It kind of challenges what a lot of us learned about language learning, doesn't it?
It does, somewhat.
So what are some of the biggest, maybe, misconceptions about fluency that this direct thinking idea tackles head on?
Well, one huge one is that fluency just means having a ton of words.
Right, vocabulary lists.
Exactly. But you can know a million words and still stumble if your brain has to translate every single one before you use it. Another is that fluency magically appears after you've perfected all the grammar rules.
Yeah, I definitely thought that.
This approach kind of flips that. It suggests that by learning to think directly in English, your grammar will naturally improve over time as you internalize the patterns. You start using it correctly without constantly thinking about the rules.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the speed thing? The promise of a significant shift in just 1 week. That sounds, well, almost too good to be true for language learning, which usually takes ages. What would you say to someone feeling a bit skeptical?
That's a completely valid point. Skepticism is healthy here. And let's be clear. This 7-day challenge won't suddenly make you sound like a native speaker overnight. That's unrealistic.
Okay.
But what it can do, and what the sources suggest is powerful, is initiate a profound shift in your approach, in the way your brain handles English.
Ah, so it's about the process changing.
Exactly. When we talk about rewiring your brain, we're tapping into something called neuroplasticity.
Right, the brain's ability to change itself.
Precisely. Your brain can reorganize itself, form new connections, strengthen pathways, all throughout your life. Every single time you consciously practice thinking in English, even for a moment, you are literally building and reinforcing these English-only highways in your brain.
Like paving a new road.
Exactly. A direct, smooth road where maybe there used to be a winding, bumpy translated detour. In just 7 days of consistent effort, you can make these new pathways visible, make them accessible. You establish a new foundation.
Because it's like building the muscle, maybe not running the full marathon in that first week.
That's a perfect way to put it. You're laying the groundwork, creating that new default setting.
Okay, the reframing helps a lot. So the big question then is, how? How do we actually do this? How do we, hack our own brains to make this shift happen?
And this is where the sources get really practical and I think quite ingenious. It's not about endless boring drills. It's through a structured 7-day challenge built on something they call mini habits.
Okay, mini habits. This is where it gets really interesting, right? Because the whole 7-day program, it's structured around these tiny actions.
Oh, exactly.
It's not about setting aside like 3 hours for intense study that you probably won't stick to.
Right. No huge, overwhelming tasks that make you feel guilty when you miss them.
Yeah. These are small daily things designed to be so simple, so easy, that you almost can't say no to doing them. The goal is to build this English thinking reflex, like muscle memory, but for your brain.
Automaticity.
And crucially, it's designed for repetition. The sources recommend you can actually do this challenge weekly. Keep reinforcing those new pathways, deepening the habit over time.
Yeah, it's not a one-shot deal.
No, it's like flossing for your brain, maybe.
Yeah.
A tiny daily act, but with massive long-term benefits.
That's a great way to think about it. And this approach, it lines up perfectly with what we know about effective habit formation, from behavioral psychology.
How so?
Well, when a task feels too big or too daunting or just takes too much time, our brains naturally resist. We
Wow.
procrastinate. It's why so many ambitious New Year's resolutions just fizzle out.
Yeah, tell me about it.
But a mini habit cleverly bypasses that resistance. It reduces the friction, the effort needed to just start, to almost nothing.
Okay.
So the mental energy required is minimal. And then the very act of successfully doing these small tasks day after day, it builds this powerful sense of achievement. It creates momentum.
Little wins that add up.
Exactly. And the idea of repeating it weekly just emphasizes that language learning, especially this kind of cognitive shift, it's an ongoing process. It's reinforcement, incremental improvement, not reaching some finish line and then just stopping.
Right.
You're consistently working those mental muscles, making that English thinking truly automatic, truly robust. That consistency literally builds the mental muscle memory for thinking directly in English.
Okay, it's all about making it feel easy enough to actually do it consistently.
Mhm.
So how do these seemingly simple daily habits actually add up? How do they create this profound shift? Let's walk through the blueprint day by day, see how each little step builds on the last.
Sounds good. Let's dive in.
Okay, day one, self-talk for every action. The core habit here is basically from the moment you wake up, maybe even before you fully open your eyes. Start describing everything you're doing or planning to do, but in your head.
In English.
The internal monologue. Exactly. You don't have to speak out loud unless you want to. The main thing is shifting that inner voice. So examples might be, I'm waking up now, or I'm brushing my teeth, making coffee, where are my keys? Simple stuff.
Very simple, present tense.
Yeah, and don't worry about perfect sentences or complex grammar, right? Just keep it simple, keep it real time. The idea is to make English the default commentary for even the most mundane automatic things you do all day. You're kind of starting this quiet internal narration of your own life.
And this first step is absolutely foundational. It's crucial because it immediately starts that internal dialogue in English, but without any external pressure. There's no audience, no fear of making mistakes out loud.
Right, it's just you and your thoughts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's purely about training your brain to narrate your own reality directly in English. And by doing this consistently, you start establishing that new default for your inner monologue. You're flipping that internal language switch.
Like changing the channel in your head.
Precisely. Imagine that switchboard. You're consciously directing your thoughts through the English channel right from the start of your day. It builds this fundamental habit of thinking about your actions, not just doing them automatically, but thinking about them in English.
Okay.
It might feel a little odd at first, maybe even a bit quiet as your brain adjusts, but deliberately shifting that inner voice is incredibly powerful.
What if you don't know the word for something you're doing? Like you're doing some specific task.
Great question. The advice is simple. Keep the flow. Don't stop the English thought process. Either try to describe it in simple English, I'm doing that thing with the papers, use a word you do know that's related, or honestly, just skip it and keep the English commentary going.
Ah, yeah.
The goal is continuous thinking in English, not having a perfect internal dictionary right away. Flow over perfection.
That idea of keeping it internal first seems really smart. It definitely lowers the pressure. But for listeners who might still feel a bit awkward, talking to themselves even silently in their heads, what's the very first baby step to embrace this on day one?
The very first step is just acknowledging that awkwardness is normal. And then start ridiculously small. Don't aim for, Shakespearean internal monologues.
Right.
Start with single words or super short phrases. Coffee, hot, chair, sit. As you get a bit more comfortable, maybe expand to short sentences. I am drinking coffee. I'm sitting down. The key is doing something consistently, even if it's just for 5 minutes when you first wake up.
Okay.
And remember, your brain learns by repetition.
Mm-hmm.
The more you do this internal narration, the more natural it will feel, and surprisingly quickly. You're building a new mental pathway.
Okay, so once that internal English switch starts getting flipped, the sources say day 2. Label your world helps connect that internal shift to your actual physical environment.
Making it tangible.
Yeah. The core habit is look around where you are, your room, your office, maybe you're sitting on a park bench, and point to objects, naming them. You can do it out loud or, again, just in your head, in English, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So simple things like, this is a mirror, that's a window, these are my shoes, or that's a tree, this is a cup. The goal is to create those direct, immediate links between the thing itself and its English name. No detours through your native language.
This practice is all about building what you could call an internal English map of your surroundings. It makes the language concrete, directly connected to your lived reality.
An English map. I like that.
The power is in building these direct sensory motor connections. So instead of thinking chair translates to native word, which then represents the object,
Right.
you build a direct neural link between the physical object you see and touch and the sound and concept of the word chair in English. It becomes multisensory. You see it, maybe you point at it, you say or think the English word. That really strengthens the connection.
So you're basically building an English dictionary right there in your environment.
Exactly. Imagine doing this walking through a supermarket. That's an apple. This is bread. Those are carrots. You're constantly reinforcing these direct object-word associations. It makes recalling those words much faster, much more automatic when you need them.
And it's not just passive vocabulary learning then.
No, it's active, real-world connection. And the great thing about this habit is it's so versatile. You can do it anywhere, anytime. On the bus, waiting in line, cooking dinner. It makes expanding your practical vocabulary really engaging. It grounds the language in your actual experience.
Yeah, you could do it constantly throughout the day.
Mm.
What happens, though, if you point at something and you just blank on the English word? Should you stop and pull out your phone to look it up? Or just keep going?
Especially in these early days, the emphasis is always, always on maintaining the flow of thinking in English. Consistency over absolute accuracy. So if you don't know the word, just try to describe it simply in English. Like if you don't know kettle, maybe think a thing for boiling water. Or honestly, just skip it and label the next thing.
Right.
The act of trying to describe it in English, even if it's imperfect, is still valuable training. You can always look up those specific words later, maybe make a note. But during the exercise itself, don't break that English chain of thought. The goal is keeping your brain operating in English, not acing a vocabulary test.
Right. Flow over perfection. Got it. That seems like a really important theme here. So for day 3, describe what you see. We're taking another step up, it seems.
Turning on day 2, yeah.
The habit is when you're outside or maybe watching TV or just looking out the window, describe what you're seeing. But now in simple English sentences, again, internal monologue or maybe whispered is fine. So examples like, that man is walking fast. The dog is barking loudly. The sky looks dark and cloudy. It's not about deep analysis, just spontaneous real-time observation put to simple sentences.
This habit builds really significantly on day 2. You're moving from just identifying single words, man, dog, sky, to actually forming quick, natural sentences about them.
Okay, linking the words together.
Exactly. It trains your brain to spontaneously articulate observations in a coherent way. It's like practice for real-time descriptive conversation. And it's crucial for developing natural-feeling sentence structures without consciously sweating over the grammar rules in that moment.
So you start internalizing the structure without thinking subject, verb, object.
Precisely. Instead of translating a complex thought like, I observe a canine quadruped vocalizing at a high volume, you're practicing the simple, direct English thought, the dog is barking.
Yeah.
It's a really critical bridge from just passively understanding English to actively, spontaneously producing sentences.
Right.
You're moving from just spotting the individual building blocks to actually starting to put them together into meaningful expressions. That's a huge leap towards conversational fluency. You're building that automaticity, making those basic sentence structures the backbone of your English thought.
That makes total sense. Day 3 feels like it's really starting to connect those English thoughts, making it feel a bit more like actual speaking is getting closer.
Right.
Okay, so after these first 3 days, building the narrative, labeling the world, describing scenes, day 4, inner voice check feels like, well, like we're directly tackling the translation habit itself now.
Yeah, this one goes right to the core.
This one might feel a bit tougher, but the sources really emphasize how powerful it is, the habit is. Throughout your day, actively try to notice your inner voice. Just pay attention. Is it speaking your native language? If it is, the habit is to consciously catch it and then gently switch it to English. It's about being mindful of your own internal linguistic processes.
This habit is targeting the absolute deepest layer of your language habits, your default thought language. It's a truly metacognitive exercise.
Metacognitive, meaning thinking about your thinking.
Exactly. You're becoming intensely aware of how your brain is processing things internally, and you're consciously empowering yourself to redirect that process. By training your default thoughts to use English words even for really simple, fleeting things like thinking, oh no, or that's funny, or oops, I forgot,
Yeah.
you are actively, deliberately dismantling that translation habit right at its root. It requires a certain amount of self-monitoring, of catching yourself in the act.
Which sounds challenging.
It can be, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially because our inner monologues are often so fast, so automatic, almost subconscious, but it's incredibly powerful for long-term change because you're asserting conscious control over your deepest cognitive landscape. You're actively choosing English as your internal default, strengthening those new pathways and weakening the old, inefficient translation ones. It's like catching yourself starting an old, unhelpful habit and consciously replacing it with a new, more productive one.
I can totally see this being the hardest day for a lot of people just because that inner voice is so automatic. What's a practical tip or strategy for someone who keeps finding themselves slipping back into their native language even when they're trying to do this check and switch?
The key is gentle persistence. Don't beat yourself up about it. That just adds stress.
Okay.
When you catch yourself thinking in your native language, just acknowledge it calmly, without judgment. There it is. And then gently, consciously pivot back to English. Think of it like meditation practice. Your mind wanders, you notice it wandered, and you gently bring it back to the focus.
Right, no frustration.
No frustration. You could also try setting a quiet reminder on your phone, maybe every hour or so, just a little ping that says, check inner voice, just to help build that awareness muscle. The mere act of noticing that you slipped is already a huge win, even if the switchback isn't perfect or immediate. Every single time you consciously redirect, you're making that new English pathway a tiny bit stronger.
That's really reassuring. Progress, not instant perfection. Okay, so moving on to day 5. Speak your emotions. This sounds interesting. At least 3 times during the day, the core habit is to articulate what you are feeling in English.
Connecting language to feeling.
Yeah. And again, this can be internal, just in your head, or maybe spoken softly to yourself, whispered if you're around people, whatever feels okay. Simple examples. I'm feeling tired today. I'm excited about tomorrow. Or, I'm a bit stressed about this deadline.
This step is genuinely vital. It moves towards what you might call emotional fluency, which is an aspect of language mastery that often gets completely overlooked.
Emotional fluency. What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, fluency isn't just about knowing words for objects like table or actions like walk. Real fluency, deep fluency, is profoundly about expressing yourself authentically, connecting with other people on a personal level, understanding and articulating your own inner world. So, by consciously connecting English to your emotional states, your joys, your frustrations, your worries, your hopes, you start to integrate the language into your core being. It stops being just a tool for exchanging factual information.
And becomes a tool for personal expression.
Exactly. It allows for a much deeper, more personal connection with English. You move beyond just describing the outside world to articulating the rich, nuanced landscape of your inner experience. It's about feeling in English, not just thinking factual thoughts or speaking them. This is where the language really starts to feel like it's yours.
That really does make the language feel less like a school subject and more like part of you.
What if someone struggles, though? Like, they feel something complex, but they just can't find the right English words for that specific nuanced emotion? Should they simplify or try really hard to express the full complexity?
Again, simplicity, especially initially, for the sake of keeping the flow, is key. If a complex emotion feels too daunting to articulate precisely in English right now, simplify it. Break it down to its basic components.
I'm feeling bad or I'm feeling unhappy. It's perfectly fine if trying to say I'm experiencing a profound sense of existential angst feels completely overwhelming at this stage.
Right, keep it achievable.
Absolutely. You could also describe the physical effect of the emotion rather than trying to name the emotion itself, like, my shoulders feel tense, or my head hurts from thinking too much, or I feel like I really need a break.
Describe the symptoms.
Yeah. The main goal here is to articulate something about your internal state using English, making that direct connection between feeling and language. The ability to express more complex nuances will definitely come with more practice over time.
Okay, good advice. Simplify to keep it flowing. Now, day 6, mini speaking practice. This sounds like we're actually, making noise now.
Getting the voice involved, yes.
The core habit is choose a simple topic.
Yeah.
Could be your day so far, your family, a recent memory, a hobby, anything simple. And then speak about it aloud, even if you're totally alone, maybe in your room or while driving for 1 full minute. Use a timer.
The timer is important.
And the sources say this is the critical instruction. Don't stop talking. Even if you repeat yourself, even if you pause awkwardly, even if you stumble over words, just keep the English coming out for that entire minute. The goal isn't a perfect speech, it's continuous, uninterrupted output.
This habit serves a really unique and crucial function. It helps your brain get comfortable forming coherent sentences, but under a little bit of gentle time pressure.
Right, that 1 minute constraint.
Exactly. It directly bridges the gap between purely internal thought, which we've been working on, and actual external vocalization. And that instruction, don't stop, is absolutely paramount. Why? Because it trains your brain to push through those awkward pauses, to find alternative ways to say something if you can't find the perfect word, and just to keep generating language.
So it builds stamina.
Conversational stamina, precisely. And it dramatically reduces that self-consciousness, that internal editor that makes us stop and correct ourselves constantly. It's not about crafting perfect sentences. It's about maintaining flow and continuous output. Think of it like a mental sprint or maybe a vocal warm-up.
It just pushes you to generate continuous English, strengthening your ability to speak spontaneously without getting bogged down in overthinking or self-correction. It builds that muscle memory for actual real-time conversation, forcing your brain to retrieve and connect words more quickly. It helps shrink that silent gap that often happens when non-native speakers are searching for words. It trains your brain to just keep going.
That don't stop rule sounds incredibly challenging, though, like a real mental push-up. What's the biggest benefit of forcing yourself to keep talking, even if it feels, really clumsy or repetitive at first?
The single biggest benefit is overcoming that self-editing reflex, the one that often paralyzes language learners. We stop, we hesitate, we correct ourselves mid-sentence, we get completely stuck.
This exercise forces you to prioritize communication and flow over grammatical perfection. It teaches you to kind of think on your feet in English, just like you do naturally in your native language without even noticing. It helps silence that harsh internal critic, showing that even imperfect, slightly clumsy English is still communication. And it strengthens your ability to improvise, to find another way to say something when the exact word won't come. It builds resilience and confidence for producing speech in real time.
Resilience and confidence. Okay, I can see the value in that, even if it sounds tough. All right, finally, we arrive at day 7. Visual thinking in English. This sounds like a really neat way to kind of pull everything from the week together.
It integrates a lot of the previous skills, yeah.
The core habit is, look at any picture. Could be a photo on your phone, an ad you see on a bus stop, maybe just a complex scene outside your window, and describe it fully, in detail, in English. The sources suggest imagining you're telling a friend who can't see it what's in the picture. Make it vivid.
This is really the culmination of the lips habits. It pushes your brain to become visual plus verbal in English, which is exactly how native speakers operate naturally.
Seeing and speaking together.
Right. It seamlessly integrates observation, like day 3, using vocabulary, like day 2, maybe even touching on emotions, like day 5 if people are in the picture, and producing flowing sentences, like day 6. But it takes it further. You're not just labeling objects or describing single actions anymore.
Yep.
You're encouraged to interpret, to infer, to speculate, maybe even create a little narrative around the image, all within the English framework. You might describe who's in the picture, what they seem to be doing, what their facial expressions suggest they're feeling, what objects are in the foreground or background. You could even speculate about what might have happened just before the picture was taken or what might happen next.
So it's more dynamic, like telling a mini story based on the visual.
Exactly. It simulates more complex, real-world communication scenarios, like describing an event you witnessed, sharing a detailed observation, or recounting something you saw. It pushes you to use a wider range of vocabulary and sentence structures. This habit moves beyond simple description into more dynamic, interpretive use of the language. It brings together all the elements you've practiced throughout the week in a really comprehensive and engaging way.
So it's really about seeing the whole story in the picture, not just the static image. Wow, okay, this whole 7-day challenge, it clearly builds logically, day by day. It feels like a really holistic approach. It sounds incredibly effective, actually, for making that crucial initial shift away from translation.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you've done it, you've completed these 7 days, you're maybe feeling that shift starting to happen. The journey doesn't just stop there, right?
Absolutely not. That's a crucial point the sources emphasize. Don't stop.
Right. The strong recommendation is actually to repeat the challenge. Do it again the following week. Maybe focus on slightly different situations, or find new objects to label. Choose different topics for your mini speaking practice. It's not designed as a one-time fix.
No, it's about building a lasting habit. And that concept of consistent repetition is absolutely vital if you want to solidify those newly formed neural pathways.
Solidify them.
Make them permanent.
Well, make them the preferred route for your brain.
Yeah.
Your brain is incredibly adaptable, as we said, neuroplasticity. But think of it like building muscle. If you stop going to the gym, those muscles weaken over time.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's similar with these mental pathways for language. If you stop exercising them, they become less efficient, and your brain might naturally drift back to the old familiar translation route because it was ingrained for so long.
So repeating the challenge helps move these processes from conscious effort, where you really have to think about it, to subconscious automatic habit. It embeds them so deeply that thinking in English starts to feel like second nature. It also helps prevent those old translation habits from creeping back in when you get tired or stressed.
So it's not about reaching perfection in week one, but just maintaining and deepening that state of thinking directly in English.
Exactly. Continuous improvement, continuous reinforcement.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Our brains are efficient, aren't they? They'll
Yeah.
take the easiest path if we don't keep actively paving and using the new one. Now, beyond just repeating the 7-day cycle, our sources also mention a couple of really great bonus techniques, things you can weave into your life for even deeper integration.
Ways to keep the momentum going.
The first one is journaling in English. The core habit here sounds pretty simple. Just write a few lines a day in English. Doesn't have to be an essay, maybe just 3 sentences about your day or a thought you had or how you're feeling.
Journaling is fantastic because it offers a different kind of space for processing your thoughts in English. It's slower, it's more deliberate, and there's less pressure than in spontaneous speech.
Right, no timer, no listener.
Exactly. It allows you time for reflection.
Yeah.
You can pause. You can look up a word if you really need to. You can think carefully about how to structure a sentence. This deliberate practice really helps reinforce vocabulary, grammar patterns, and sentence structures in a more considered way.
So it solidifies things.
It really does. It's a powerful way to take that internal English monologue we worked on and make it tangible, put it down in writing. You can look back at it, see your progress, maybe spot recurring errors without the judgment of a conversation partner. And it's incredibly personal, right? You're articulating your own experiences, your own reflections, which builds a very deep connection to the language. It's like a safe, private rehearsal space for your English brain.
I can really see how that would complement the quicker, more spontaneous exercises in the main challenge. Okay, the second bonus technique mentioned was shadowing. This sounds a bit more active, maybe even performative.
It is quite active, yeah. It involves your voice and ears intensely.
The habit is basically you listen to something in English, a movie, a podcast, an audiobook, and you repeat what you hear instantly, like right after the speaker, or even trying to speak at the exact same time, mimicking their pronunciation, their rhythm, their intonation as closely as you possibly can, like an echo.
Shadowing is an incredibly effective, active listening technique that does double duty. It trains your speaking muscles, your mouth, your tongue, and your ear simultaneously.
How does it help fluency?
It helps you internalize the natural flow, the rhythm, the music of spoken English. This is huge for improving your own accent and making your speech sound more natural, less foreign or stilted.
The musicality of the language.
Precisely. By mimicking native speakers directly, you're physically training your mouth and tongue to make sounds and adopt rhythms that might not exist in your native language. It helps you nail pronunciation, word stress, sentence stress, intonation patterns, often without you even consciously thinking about linguistic rules. You just start sounding more like the person you're shadowing.
So you're kind of embodying the language.
That's a perfect way to put it. You're not just understanding the words, you're embodying the sound and feel of it. To do it effectively, maybe start small. Shadow short phrases or single sentences first. Don't worry about getting every single sound perfect immediately. Focus first on matching the speed, the pitch changes, and the overall rhythm. The individual sounds often improve naturally as you get the rhythm right. It builds tremendous confidence in just speaking continuously and smoothly.
Okay, shadowing sounds like a powerful, if maybe slightly challenging, technique to try. So, expert, this whole approach from the core 7-day challenge with its mini habits through to these bonus techniques like journaling and shadowing it really seems to boil down to one central idea, doesn't it? What does this all mean for you, the listener, especially if you felt really stuck with translation for a long time?
The overarching message, the one that comes through loud and clear from all these sources, is that success on this path hinges fundamentally on consistency, not on achieving perfection.
Consistency, not perfection.
Absolutely. You don't need to be flawless on day one. You don't even need to be flawless after the 7 days or even after 7 weeks. You just need to keep showing up, keep trying, keep engaging with these mental habits day in, day out, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Because chasing perfection can actually hold you back.
It absolutely can. The pursuit of perfection often becomes a massive barrier. It leads to frustration, harsh self-criticism, and ultimately, it makes people give up entirely. But if you focus on consistency instead, you embrace the natural, iterative way learning actually happens.
Small steps adding up.
Exactly. Every small, maybe imperfect effort you make contributes to the cumulative effect of rewiring your brain. It reminds us that language is alive, it's always evolving, and our interaction with it should be dynamic too. We should allow for mistakes, see them as part of the growth process. This shifts your internal story from, I have to be perfect right now, to, I am consistently getting better. And that consistency, practiced over time, is what truly locks in that direct English thinking and makes it automatic.
Okay, let's do a quick recap then. These incredible, really practical tools for starting to think directly in English. It starts with that daily self-talk for everything you do.
Narrating your actions internally.
Then labeling your world, connecting objects directly to English words.
Building that internal map.
Describing what you see around you in simple sentences.
Moving from words to basic sentences.
Actively catching and switching your inner voice if it slips into your native tongue.
Taking conscious control.
Yeah. Speaking your emotions in English. Connecting language to feeling.
Making it personal.
Practicing those mini speaking bursts for a minute, focusing on flow.
Building stamina and reducing self-editing.
And finally, engaging in that comprehensive visual thinking in English, describing pictures in detail.
Integrating everything. Visual plus verbal. If you do these practices consistently, even just for those first 7 days, the sources really do suggest you'll be genuinely surprised. Surprised at how much more natural, how much more effortless, maybe how much more immediate English starts to feel for you.
Yeah.
It really is about building that direct, unmediated connection with the language, finally bypassing that frustrating, energy-sapping translation step.
So the question for you, our listeners, is, which of these 7 transformative habits will you try first? Maybe just pick one to focus on initially. And then, thinking beyond that first week, as you really embark on this deep dive into linguistic reprogramming, here's something to ponder. How might strategically combining some of these daily habits, maybe doing visual thinking while you're doing your internal self-talk, or perhaps speaking your emotions during your 1-minute mini-speaking practice, how might combining them create an even faster, even more profound shift in your English thinking? We encourage you to think about that, experiment, and really embrace English as the default language of your mind.